Welcome to the Dental Construction Insider, the podcast you need if you're a dentist and you're looking to open up your own practice. Whether you're going to construct, remodel, renovate. Renovate. Yeah, we help. I mean, we tell them, help them renovate, ground up. Hey, we're your go-to people. I'm your host, Tommy. I'm here with Veronica, John. We're back again. And let's get into this. Today we're talking about architect versus contractor. Who should design your dental practice? Ooh, we're going to make some friends on this one.
Yep.
But we're here to just tell you honestly, right? Truthfully. So it depends on your situation. Bam. What did you think I was going to say?
Yeah.
Shit. So it depends on your situation, in all honesty. I spoke to a doc this morning, for instance, and he's here in Texas, and we have a really large pool of design contractors, dental specific contractors, architects, designers, a whole bunch, right? So, he's wanting to do this, but he's wanting to do it low cost, more or less for free as much as he can, because he's not sure the space is going to work for him or not. So I told him, well, and he told me, well, I've got a dental equipment guy who's going to do the design for me, because, they do a fair job. They do. I said, okay, hey, I'm not here to talk you out of anything. I'm here to listen to what you're trying to, the information you're giving me, and give you a recommendation based off that information. So he says, I have the dental equipment people. They're going to do design for me, but they don't go out and measure. I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking, does he want us to go out and measure? Because we don't do that for free. And then he says, so I'm not really sure how to do that. I said, well, okay, did you ask your landlord for a CAD file? Yes, they don't have one. Okay. Did you ask the dental equipment guys won't go out there and measure it up for you? No, they won't do that anymore. I'm like, okay, that's odd. Okay. I said, well, you're looking to do it at low cost, you can get a contractor. We're here in Texas. You got a huge selection to choose from of contractors. He said, okay, well, who do you think I should go with? I'm like, well, who have you been talking to? Right? Because I'm not going to really make a recommendation to him unless he asks me specifically. But I'm not going to bring somebody new into the mix. And I don't, we're not here to waste anybody's time. You don't like to have your time wasted. We don't like to waste other people's time. We don't like to waste our time.
Yeah.
For the same, that's why we charge for that. So, he says, well, I've been working with, contractor B. I'm like, oh, yeah, I know them very well. Okay, reach out to them. They'll get it for you. They'll send it to the dental equipment guy. It's going to be a hand measurement. So based off of that, nothing's going to be written in stone. It's going to be, it's not a CAD file, right, John? You know how important a CAD file is. You know how everybody reads the good old measuring tape differently, right?
Exactly.
They read it differently. So sometimes they size up, sometimes they size down, so you're going to get what you're going to get. And so I wanted him to be aware of that. I'm not looking to try to sell him on having Veronica and John go out and measure a space either. But I want him to know that there's going to be some caveats there, and there's going to be some, what do you call it? Like, not discrepancies.
Red tape or red flags to have to
be
aware of.
Yeah, there's going to be some stuff to be aware of that may not line up, and, could be, some things are going to be not aligned correctly with that solid floor plan you got from the dental equipment guy. So he says, okay, well, then I was thinking about getting an architect. I'm like, okay, that's a totally different subject there. Those guys are definitely not going to go for free to do that. And they're definitely going to charge, a certain fee for that. And it's only going to give you this portion of what you need. It'll get you, some information on the space, a CAD file, and some dimensions. So a PDF, a CAD file. PDF and a CAD file are different, right? And I probably should let John explain the difference between a PDF and a CAD file, because it's important for you guys to know that if you're going to go with an architect or a contractor for a design build.
There's a difference.
Pull the cord and I get the lawnmower going, right?
Doing dances now.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what your work scope is, what your budget is, and I think if you kind of tell us a little bit of those details, we could probably point you in the direction of, like, I guess what you need or what you should probably do, right? Because I mean, if you're looking for the affordable route, it's kind of almost non-existent because you can save money in the beginning, but that doesn't mean you're going to save money at the end.
Yeah.
It's great if you get spend a certain amount of money with an equipment company, you get a floor plan, great, right? But it doesn't mean that it's maybe it's not the way that you're particularly wanting the flow or the layout of the space to be. It's it's going to be focused on equipment, and that's great, that's fine, right? Because that workflow is dependent on that equipment and how it's going to be placed.
But what's the difference between a CAD file and a PDF?
Well, so in that brings me to that too. The PDF is just a visual of what that CAD file is. That's a presentation view of that CAD file.
Like a schematic floor plan.
Correct. But the CAD file that you obtain it in order to edit or modify the existing floor plan. You have your proposed as-built drawings that are provided from that CAD file, and then to modify up on top of that is great because it saves time. But you also have to make sure that file or that what you're working off of that floor plan is actually accurate. That accuracy is going to be extremely important when it comes to the contractor laying or chalking out the floor plan before you get to architecturals, because you want to have your contractor verify that everything is as accurate as possible before framing, before ordering of materials, all of that good stuff. So it depends on what stage you're at, what your budget is, and I guess what your work scope is going to be.
Okay.
So what is it? What's a CAD file? What does it stand for?
A computer aided design.
Okay.
And it's also translated in a DWG file, which you've seen a lot of.
Right.
And so a CAD file is in the form of a .DWG mostly, and
that's the one only you guys can see.
We can't see it
with your program that you pay thousands of dollars for
to
be able to have.
And
the PDF is one we can just print out on the printer over here. Yeah.
Yes, and then of course there's industry standards. Usually it's AutoCAD or majority standard nowadays is Revit, which is what we use Revit. So of course it's the modern age AutoCAD on steroids, pretty much.
And that gives you the correct. You base the floor plan off of those dimensions,
correct. And it gives you.
But you can't take that. You have to be able to, because you can't get like a PDF and say, well, here's my PDF and let's go measure the space out. Like that's
so if it's printed to scale, if it's drawn to scale, which we always draw to scale, right? So no matter where you print it out, you're still able to either put a ruler or scale to it and then be able to find out how the measurements line up, or that the measurements are going to be exactly what they are. They're just going to be depending on the size of paper that you use to print it out on. If it's 24 by 36, it'll be printed at a quarter scale or 8 scale. It just depends. So
sometimes I miss that printer we used to have.
I know.
So you can still get that from PDF stuff, but the best way is to obtain the either CAD file for us to design from, or if not, have us go out there, scan it for you, get that CAD file out of the way. So we are designing from the most accurate spot possible from the very beginning.
The best is the CAD file.
Yeah,
the best
and
is
no
to get
matter
a CAD
what,
file.
no matter which route you go, they're going to need a CAD file.
Everybody's
going to need it.
No matter which way you go, the contractor's still going to have to verify or lay out or chalk the lines of the floor plan before they get to framing, before they get started on hopefully permitted drawings. The last thing you want to do is have to revise a permitted set of drawings. That far
takes
in the
a lot of
stage,
time.
because there's not that type of verification that happens along the way.
Yeah, you need the architect needs the CAD file. The engineers need the CAD file. If there's a fire sprinkler suppression system in there, they need the CAD file, right?
Yep.
There's different people along the way that need a CAD file, so you're going to need a CAD file anyway.
And the landlord sometimes has it on their lease that they need a CAD file.
Right. So there's different people that have so that's the difference between a PDF and a CAD file. It's two different kind of documents. One that's more, it's computer generated, so you can see it. People pay for the program that have it, and they have it because it's true. It's a true depiction of what the space has, and you create that based off the dimensions in there. We get that off the Matterport that you get. We end up printing, for us lay people, John will print off a PDF with the correct dimensions on there for us to go measure out the space to verify that that's what they have. And that's what this to come back around and tie this in is what this dental equipment person was needing and why the dentist was going to hire contractor, or he was going to get as a courtesy from contractor B to go out and measure space. Most of the contractors in your area will do this for you. You just have to ask them. You have to keep in mind, though, they're going to get a call from them every 2 weeks asking, like, how's the design coming? I'd like to be able to provide a proposal for you, blah, blah. And that's fair. You're going to want them to be able to provide a proposal for you because they took the time out there to go get those dimensions. By the same token, like John was saying, they're not going to be responsible for any discrepancies. That's the word I was looking for a while ago.
Yeah.
Inaccuracies. They're not going to be responsible for discrepancies they may or may not have taken during measuring the space. They may not be able to, like our camera does, find the 7 columns in the space or the 2 columns
that are in
the
between
space,
the walls.
right? They may not be able to find that. So, they give that to the contractor B, gives it to the doc gives it to dental equipment. The contractor knows exactly what the dental equipment per. Make no mistake, they know each other. Mm-hmm. He knows who has it. He knows the timing of when it's done, and probably knows what it looks like before you even know about what it looks like. It's another story for another time. That's one with alcohol, though. So that's a different time. Anyway, so he's going to, provide that to dental equipment. Dental equipment's going to make it, create a floor plan. They're going to like, here you go. You're going to be like, okay, well, I need to know what the numbers are for this before I go too much further down the rabbit hole and spend, some money. So you get, free dimensions from the contractor, free floor plan from the design dental equipment, and then you get a bid from the contractor. 99.9% of contractors will provide you a competitive bid for free based off that one page. You just have to be careful and realize it's only one page, doesn't have a lot of data or depth into it. So, there's going to be a lot of people are going to have different pricing.
It's not going to be apples to apples.
It's not, but it's going to give you an idea what it costs. If you send it to another guy, you'll kind of know more or less where your range is. You're going to have to add some money to that because it's missing data, like I was saying, but it gives you an idea. Once you select a contractor, well, then you're going to have to go to architectural. So if it's a design build contractor, you may not necessarily have to hire an architect. They might do it in-house. It could go pretty fast. You can get it done, quickly, depending on the size. If it's a certain size under certain X amount of square feet, they can probably do it in-house with their own engineers, which are just the electrician, the plumber, and the mechanical guy. Because
all the trades.
Under a certain square foot, they can engineer it themselves. Anything over it has to go to an actual engineer. And so this is all for tenant improvement, by the way.
Ground up.
This is tenant improvement specific right now. So they'll do all that stuff for you. The local contractor. If you go to an architect, I would say that would be a route I wouldn't go with, particularly for tenant improvement under probably 5,000 square feet. Unless you're going into, right, there's always a little unless or oops. It's like the code book, though, right?
Yeah.
The code book has shall not do this, shall not do that, don't do this, don't do that.
Or sections A, B, C, or D.
But if you do this, the exception is note 2, note 3, note 4, right? There are always the loopholes. Okay, so the exception is if it's 2,000, say it's 2,000 square feet. Hey, but you said I didn't have to have architectural in 2,000 square feet, but it's in a hospital.
Yeah.
Right? Or some sort of thing that's connected to a hospital or a medical clinic.
Or multi-level.
Or it's
brand new.
First generation?
Not necessarily.
No.
But it's multi-level. But if it's brand new, multi-level with, retail bottom, housing above it.
Yeah, that's true.
No dice. I can't say because it could be not the city that requires it, but it could be the landlord that requires it. Mm-hmm. That's the other person you have to worry about, the landlord. So, you know what? I should even say that. Like John says, it could be first generation, but they could require it because it could be the landlord that says, yeah, my brand new freaking nice lease space with my shiny new concrete that has no tire marks on it and stuff. I'm only going to get architecturals for this. Your contractor's not going to be the architect. I want an architect because they're going to have to review your plans, right? Not only city permit office, but the
landlord.
The landlord. And sometimes the landlord might say, no, there's no stamp on here. I realize you have a permit, but I want stamp drawings. And so they're going to make you get an architect. And you'll know that at your lease negotiations, what the parameters are going to be. Your broker will be able to list that stuff out for you. Your broker's a pretty important person to lean on during a lot of the phasing of, when you're looking for a space or a place to call home for your dental practice. And there's a lot of things that have to be spelled out by them that they have to do for you to be able to make sure that, you're covered for the most part. And that's one of the things, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, architect versus contractor.
It depends on your situation.
Depends on your situation. So I went all the way around and didn't really answer.
I know. Well, and another thing, you definitely need an architect if it's a ground up.
Okay, so for this doc, I recommended he went with the contractor, right? There was another doc I talked to probably 3 weeks ago that I recommended he hire an architect. He was ground up. I said, you're going to need one.
Yep.
You're going to need one. I know one in your market. He's very fair. He can, he'll treat you fairly. You can call other guys and price shop if you want. He did. He ended up going with our guy anyway because he was ground up. We don't know his box. John was going to design it for him, but John's like, hey, I need to know your box. Like, I can't say, oh, you're 2 acres. I'm going to draw you a 2 acre, a 2 acre building.
No, and it involves geographic. I mean, it involves a lot of other stuff.
Geotech report.
Yeah.
And, drainage and civil and
the particular
approaches.
The particular land that you're going to select is as a particular water drainage pattern. So you're going to have to be, where is the parking going to go, but how many parking spaces you're going to need depending on the square footage.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have, where all the trenching and all
drainage
that stuff is going to go.
And those are the kind of things that you have to lean on your architect about, right?
With the engineers, yeah.
Exactly.
You can't do that with the contractors. So that's a good one, John. So that's another doc that we've been working with for, a month or two. He says, when I initially talked to him, I want to do a remodel, blah, blah. I said, okay, great. So then when John talks to him, he says, hey, I want to add some square footage to my space. John goes, okay. So John tells him ahead of time, well, we're going to have to figure out what your allowable box is and what you're going to be able to get because, there's going to be some parking issues and stuff like that.
Setbacks. And
setbacks,
stuff.
Yeah, setbacks. I've heard you say that 100 times, telling people, I need to know. I can't just build to the property line. And sure enough, it came out that, parking is the killer. That you could build it. No, you could build that, extra.
He wanted to add a story and.
How many square feet additional was it?
I believe this was an extra 4 ops. So it was significant.
So it was 2 stories.
Off the top of my head, it was just over another 1,000 square
1,000,
feet.
yeah. So probably 500, 500,
yeah.
So that's significant addition to a building. And they were like, yeah, you can add this. City's like, oh, yeah. The architect was like, oh, yeah, because, we had to. But then they came out the parking. There is such a thing as called a land use attorney that handles parking specifically in this northeast town or city that's very dense.
Yeah.
And that was the first I've heard of somebody that does that. And so normally we would rely on a civil guy to kind of tell us that, but this is so specific in that area, they have an attorney that does that.
And it was ridiculous the amount of spaces he needed for parking in such a dense place where everybody parks on the street.
Everybody parks in the street or under the building.
Yeah, that's true.
Or what do they park in under the building? But they have a rack where they
drive,
they drive and it picks it up and they drive.
Kind of like that Carvana. I don't know.
Carvana. Anyhow, depends on your situation. That's a good way to close it out.
Depends on your situation, budget, and work scope.
Budget. That's another good one, John, because your situation and your budget are going to dictate what you can really do.
Yep.
So we could, everybody's specific, we tell people as if we're building ourselves. And I know a lot of people have that. They find it hard to believe. But, you guys can do this. You can do it yourself. You can ask, like this doc was asking information, like, hey, what should I do? I'm not sure. What would you do if it was, your situation? I'm like, well, I would go as far as I could with free. And then you heard me talking to him, about it, saying like, I wouldn't hire us for scanning. No, you could get it done for them. Because if he was okay with the dental equipment floor plan, which, there's only one company in Texas here that's dental equipment that does floor plans that I think are really good.
Yep. Well, they do Oklahoma and Texas and one other state.
Another state? Is it
Yeah.
New Mexico?
I don't remember.
So you know who you are out there. Anyhow, they do those states, right? And that guy's good.
Yeah.
He's got a good team. They're quick.
They're fast.
They are flipping quick. Anyhow, everybody else it's getting better from what we've seen. You know, you can't be as good as, you know, Master John floor plan. But they're getting there. So it's specific to guys. It's specific. I mean, every situation is different.
How is the existing place too? You know, like the existing floor, is it like just a shell? Is it, you know, just rectangular, or does it have a bunch of, you know, cuts and
there's a lot of.
and how do you say it? Mechanical rooms and inaccessible spaces. So they're all of that kind of plays into it. Too.
It all plays into what you want to do and who you should hire and what's the best route to go. And, you know, remember, basement and the first floor in the basement, if it, you know, it's considered square footage. So you could say, well, I'm under the you know, 5,000 square feet. Oh, but I have another 1,000 foot, you know, square feet of basement. That counts.
Yeah. They count every square inch.
They count. Anyhow, hope that answers that one. We'll see you guys in the next one.